Hello and good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us here today. We've got ourselves a very exciting panel with a bunch of great panelists here. And what we're going to be talking about today is 8K technology and its impact on the production process. I am Juan Reyes. I'm the Director of Operations for the 8K Association. And what we want to do to get things started is kind of talk a little bit about understanding the ecosystem before we jump into our panel and get you introduced to all of our great panelists that are here today. As you can see here on our first slide, the 8K ecosystem covers several segments going from the camera to the display. We've got our content creation, capture, encoding, decoding, the display technology, and to help deliver this particular message and everything involved in understanding the 8K ecosystem, we've got four great panelists here. First of all, we have Abdul Rahman, our CPO for IMAX Corporation. We have Ravi Velhal, the technology, policy, and standards guru for Intel. We've got Uday Mathur, the CTO for Red Digital Cinema, and Mauricio Alvarez Mesa, the CEO for Spin Digital. And I'd like to start first by having each of you briefly describe your responsibilities at your respective companies. Well, go ahead and start with you.
So as CTO of Red, we've been building 8K cameras for almost 10 years now. And with each generation, we've tried to push frame rate. And in our most recent generation, we've been trying to incorporate more IP and broadcast connectivity.
Hello, I'm Mauricio from Spin Digital. In Spin Digital, we do video codecs and for 8K. And in the last few years, we have been focusing more on the live encoding and how to do 8K live encoding with the HEVC or BBC codecs and also high frame rates recently, like 8K 120 hertz, and how to push these encoding capabilities forward.
Chief Product Officer at IMAX. We are passionate about bringing differentiated premium experiences in our theaters and beyond theaters as well, which is a key focus right now.
Ravi Velhal from Intel Corporation, 26 years Intel experience, mostly driving media formats. I'm also 8K lead, and recently we delivered Tokyo Olympics in 8K Live and collaborated with many companies here, as well as the Beijing 8K in VR. So my job is driving immersive and 8K and the future of media entertainment.
So as you can see, we've got a bunch of great panelists here involved in various aspects of the 8K ecosystem, the 8K production workflow. As part of that, what I want to ask in regards to 8K production, what are some of the challenges each of you face in terms of meeting what the needs of the various vertical markets are around 8K production? Uday?
I think one of the challenges we faced is that we entered 8K very early, and finding value propositions before 8K screens were prevalent was always something that we had to convince customers of. Now with the emergence of 8K screens and alternative displays like headsets, many of those challenges have faded away.
How about on your end, Mauricio?
Yeah, I mean, we have been working very early in 8K, and of course, one of the challenges have been to get right 8K content so that we can really show the benefits of 8K also from the codec point of view, so that we can respect the intention of the creators when they do 8K content and things like in 8K, there are certain quality parameters that we really need to keep. For example, 8K has to be in 10-bit at least, and 8K with 8-bit doesn't make sense, but sometimes we were finding these kind of issues. So I think over time was kind of to define what we mean by 8K, not only in terms of resolution, but the overall format.
Yeah, understanding that creative intent. And let's hear you talk about a little bit about creative intent over here from IMAX.
Yeah, I think when you look at technologies that require support on the content creation side and throughout the process and playback, it can become a chicken or egg problem at the end of the day. And I think solving that chicken or egg problem can be quite challenging. And there are a number of aspects that need to be addressed across the whole ecosystem to bring technologies like 8K technology at broader scale throughout the ecosystem. Obviously, you need storytellers to tell the story in 8K. Really look at that as canvas with more resolution that can help tell the stories in the best way possible, master the content in 8K, and that's something we are quite passionate and excited about. Working with 8K Association has been doing for quite some time, but then you have to carry that creative intent all the way to playback, encoding, and delivery and playback, and efficient delivery, knowing really what are the elements that are key part of the creative intent and how they needs to be preserved all the way from encoding, delivery, and playback from human perception perspective. So all those elements, when they come together, then you can really make the magic happen. But what we are going through essentially are those pains to get all end-to-end the whole ecosystem from storytelling to playback happen in a big way.
Excellent. Thank you. And your point of view on that, Ravi?
I think, our fellow panelists cover really exceptionally well, but I just have a little different perspective. If you look at from Edward Muybridge, when the Xylo processor first came, the chicken and egg problem exists in every aspect of format, no matter what, whether it's a color, black and white, even way before. And so that's so I would like to address kind of like a 3 opportunities or 3 problem areas, or the principle that we need to address. First one is laws of economics. So scale will happen when the price starts coming down, especially for the 8K TV, 8K equipment, 8K compute, and distribution. And then second part is laws of physics, and you need right from bigger sensors to having our scalable Xeon processor or AI. You need that horsepower to drive that industry forward, and those are 2 very, very important aspects. And the third part is the law of the land, and that means how the signal gets broadcasted. For example, Japan, it's a satellite broadcast thing. Here is probably OTT. So consideration of bandwidth and that. So the laws of physics, laws of economics, and laws of land are an industry address to achieve not just 8K, but any format and democratize across the globe.
Yeah, and as we've all been through various technologies, we've seen the challenges in getting it to become more mainstream, every part of the production process. And talking about that from the beginning part, thinking about cameras and capturing, question to you, Uday, and to Abdul about where are we at right now with the capturing of cameras of 8K content, especially around high frame rate?
Yeah, so I think high frame rate is another key differentiator with 8K capture, is that right now where our customers have been capturing 8K content for almost 10 years, but most recently we've been offering higher frame rates at 8K for new types of live experiences, headset experiences. And the cameras that we're making today are designed to be connected to infrastructure instead of just recorded to media for a post-production workflow. So bridging 8K capture to live events and quasi-live events is a new area of focus for us.
So for blockbuster movie content, as we all know, 24 frames per second is the standard, right? That is part of the storytelling. That's what creators use. We at IMAX want to assist our filmmakers that we work with, studios we work with, in helping tell that story the way they want to tell that story. We know that creatively 48 frames per second has been used. Avatar was an example, especially on the 3D side. That was a widely popular presentation within IMAX, as we know, last year, towards the beginning of it in the year before. So our goal is to always follow what the creators at the end want to use for storytelling. We believe that creating content in 8K in this day and age is really important. It should be done in 8K from capture perspective. There are IMAX certified cameras that do shoot in 8K. Frame rate is a different story, but 8K resolution would give you the maximum fidelity at the end of the day, at the very least, to begin with. And then hopefully mastering processes can also be updated with that in mind.
Yeah, so one of the things we are starting to see is the use of 8K resolution further and further down this production pipeline, and it's just really exciting. And of course, as a part of that, as you were both alluding to, it's a lot of data that we're dealing with here. So why don't we talk a little bit about the encoding and the decoding process? So Mauricio, we'll start with you, and then Ravi, you can comment on the decoding side.
Yeah, I think one of the main challenges of 8K encoding, especially when it comes to live encoding, because offline encoding, I would say, has different requirements. You have more time to look at the content to see what it is, what is inside, and so on. But in live encoding, we started a few years ago with HEVC, and we developed an 8K live encoder. And we get a lot of experience on what were the requirements. And the important thing was like make it practical so that you can have a single server run the encoder there. You capture the signal coming from the cameras or the live production. Those are 48 gigabit per second. And initially the target was around 80 megabit per second. That was set by the NHK in Japan, who are the pioneers of 8K production. They made their own studies and subjective tests and came with that number, 80. So we put ourselves this as a reference and started going from there down. And now, of course, we also have next generation codecs like VVC. We also have an implementation of VVC for 8K live. But we are also seeing that at the end of the day, the codec is just a set of tools that you can use. But there are also other things around and that were mentioned before, like it's not just encoding in some format, HEVC or VVC. It's adding perceptual coding, so bringing some vision science into the game. So how we can remove information that is not visible by the human eye in a smart way. So we call this perceptual coding, and then now it's also combined with content-aware encoding. So how we try to understand what is inside the content, and based on that, take encoding decisions. So there are this kind of two layers. One is the low layer of the which codec we are using. And this is advancing from HEVC to VVC. But also another layer is how we can have some understanding of the content from an algorithmic point of view, and based on that, improve the coding decisions. So this is where we are now, like combining VVC as the latest generation codec with perceptual coding, content-aware encoding. And
so I'll touch base on the both aspects here, if I may. First of all, preserving artistic intent is extremely important, and that is our duty as a technologist to give a justice to that story enabled by tech, not the other way around. And to do that, always my mantra is more pixel, better pixel, faster pixel. So 8K 60 and high dynamic range, that is great for the sports. That's a baseline. But when it comes to movie, 24.95, that's a standard set for that one. But there's a lot of VFX and those things you have to do to bring that, preserve the cinema quality. And again, jump that into like virtual production right now. Global shutter is very important. And I just wrote a paper on virtual production 3.0, and where, because there's a lot of camera capturing in 8K, but also need a background screen in camera VFX, a whole set of like a tool pipeline and compute pipeline that needs to make that result better. And that's what you give like another compelling factor or wow factor to your audience. So come back to the sports, as Mauricio was mentioning about the conceptual hour encoding and the perceptual encoding. We did the Tokyo live Olympics live in the middle of pandemic, and around like 216 hours of live content, 200 hours of recording content in 8K, signal provided NHK, and we encoded and we distributed at selected location, captured more than 4.7 petabytes of data, 300 terabytes of stream using the HEVC. And today at 8K Association booth, we are also showing the VVC, which can bring that bitrate down. As Mauricio was mentioning, 80 was a threshold set for HEVC because of how the commercial cloud providers are capped at that. Now we can bring that bitrate with the VVC and the CAE much lower, like 40 to 60. So that way, in order to achieve the economy of scale, previously used to have like 1 gigabit per second internet connection at home. Now, if you have 250 Mbps, you can reliably watch 8K with this new VVC 8K 60 HDR implementation, as well as whenever the 8K cinema will come. I think we are laying all the groundwork, and there are enough ample technologies to make that happen.
No, that's great to really hear that some of the bit rates and the advancements in the encoding capabilities that we have today are down to the level of what we're experiencing with 4K content. historically that was a big concern. How are we going to push so many pixels? What kind of bandwidth is everybody going to be needing at home in order to achieve this? Through the VVC encoding, you can actually see that these bit rates are down right around the same level as 4K material. So you're slower. You don't need the 1 gig connection in the home. You're able to achieve it with your, regular 200, 300 megabit connections. And talking a little bit about that, you mentioned cinema. So for you, Abdul, I'm curious to understand, your experience and, producing and presenting premium movies in theater. How does that implement your approach to 8K quality and 8K content?
So for us, 8K or resolution is one of the components at the end. We control the pipeline or the process right from content creation all the way to playback. And for us to adopt that, we need to bring all parts of the ecosystem together. So we need to make sure that the filmmakers want to tell the story in 8K. We need to make sure that the mastering process is done in that way, the projection process is done in that way. We have the biggest screens, or some of the biggest screens out there, and we would love to show content with the maximum fidelity, which is why if you even go to our booth, which is not too far on this side, we are showcasing our film camera. And our film camera with the proper sort of scanning of film, you can scan at 8K and beyond. We have famously talked about the film resolution with proper scanning can go to 18K. So we believe in maximum fidelity that you can show, the proper look and feel, like the work that we have done with Christopher Nolan and other filmmakers to really bring their creative intent. So we are passionate about premium experiences. We just need to make sure that all these aspects are brought together to our theaters every step of the way.
And so we're hearing the theatrical side, the live action side. Curious to understand, from each of you, where you think we are in regards to getting this 8K content into the home entertainment and market as things start to evolve.
Well, I think if we take the new types of displays like headsets, 8K content is already being delivered to headsets for live events. So some of our customers are doing this for NBA, others are doing it for other types of live events, concerts, and a headset is really just another 8K screen that you happen to attach to your face. And these events are happening in IP delivered over the top, straight live out of the venue. So it's not a large leap to think that 8K will be pervasive within a few years as hardware costs come down for televisions.
What do you think, Michael?
Well, I just want to highlight an event that we were part of a couple of months ago that was with the NHK in Japan. They produced in 8K a concert from the NHK Symphony Orchestra that was in Tokyo in the NHK Concert Hall. And together with our partners, NHK Technologies, it was streamed live in 8K to several locations, 3 places in Japan, Tokyo and Hiroshima, and also to our lab in Berlin. It was with 8K video, and also an important thing that we have not mentioned here is audio. So we think that if we have 8K as the ultimate image format, it has to be combined with a similar level of quality in audio. So we did that in 3D audio, and it was streamed over the internet. So that was very important, and so that it was not with a dedicated link, not with a special broadcast equipment. So it was over the open internet, live stream. And it was not a stream to home, to users at home, but it was selected locations where we have these 8K screens and the 3D audio setups. But this showed that we can do it now with the current technology.
I think because there are so many moving parts, it's a gigantic effort to bring 8K in the home. As we talked about that, we talked about different types of laws, we talked about limitations. And we need to give the masses a reason to yearn or look for the 8K experience at the end of the day. So it's all worth it for the whole ecosystem from, like Ravi talked about, from economical perspective. It's a win-win-win situation. It's win for the creators. It's win for folks who are providing technology and infrastructure to deliver. It's a win for the display manufacturers. And all of that would be a win when the consumer at the end of the day would really look out for that experience. So at the end of the day, whether it's a headset-based experience where you can clearly see that the additional fidelity due to higher resolution is a must-have, and that's the killer use case. Once you start that loop and build that snowball effect, you would see that's going to come to the rest of the ecosystem. But that identification of that key use case and really creating that demand is what's going to make it accelerate the whole process every step of the way. Sports is obviously one of those avenues, and with the advancement of technology and making that happen and making that more streamlined and more widely accessible, that certainly is an option. But I would also agree with other ways of presenting 8K content, and always looking out for those opportunities that can help really bring it in a big way.
And if you look at it, 8K streaming is already happening. As I mentioned, Winter Olympic Games Beijing 2022, we had more than 35 games that will live stream using this 8K encoder and the technology, and were decoded on the headset, actually on the Meta. So if you had an NBC Comcast app, you already watched it Olympic in 8K, and that's what like going to be live stream from Beijing, actually. And last year that was nominated for the 44th Emmy nomination in sports. So this is happening. And as far as the event goes, we have shown the end-to-end capability, glass to glass, with less than 2-second latency over the RTP protocol, or 14 second over the HLS. So you can scale it globally over the open available cloud, taking the 8K content and distributing. And you already, if you're watching YouTube, there are millions YouTube videos already there. And if you look at the camera prices coming down from the handheld DSLR cameras, RF cameras, all the way to production quality cameras that Red has and other companies has. So the tool set is there from the camera side, as well as from the VFX, and then the capture encoding via the technology provider. Our scalable Xeon processor encode that signal from 48 gigabytes per second raw to 60 Mbps in VVC in less than 200 milliseconds. And we distribute over the open internet in between 10 to 14 seconds. So it is there for live. And live is the hardest thing to do, as you can recall, because you need to render it and you need to make sure there is no frame drop, anything that happens. And plus, on the film side, that's a different kind of a challenges. There is very less forgiveness because the quality has to be exceptionally maintained, because that's the pressure. I'm pretty sure IMAX, when they worked on Oppenheimer, preserving the film grain, that is the reason Christopher Nolan picked up 70 millimeter format. Yes, you can scan it at 16K resolution, and you need to basically listen to what your creator want to tell. But if you are a content creator who doesn't have any distribution 8K pipeline or waiting, and unfortunately because of pandemic it got slowed down and the virtual production picked up. But for 8K, in order to distribute more content, you can start capturing 8K content right now and downstream to an HD, 2K, 4K, and quality of that stream will be a lot stunning than the capture from HD and transmit in HD. So this is right now in a reverse. The downscaling of 8K to HD will look much better, while the pipeline and the millions of devices around the world, the ecosystem gets ready. So this is already happening, and we just need to follow those principles, and ecosystem needs to play out.
Yeah, so really keeping that 8K content, that workflow going, having the use of 8K is really helping you be more future ready. So in the road, once we've got that pipeline ready to go into the home, we've got our content there and it's all set. So we heard about some exciting projects that you guys have worked on over time. I'm curious to know what you're doing currently around 8K resolution, high frame rate, immersive audio, anything you can talk about that you're working on currently or coming up in the near future.
For us, the most exciting stuff is the live stuff, where it comes live out of the camera. It's 8K, 120 global shutter, and it can go from there directly to the cloud for distribution. And we've shown that last NAB, this NAB, and customers are adopting it, and we're beginning to see it come into the market more and more.
Yeah, just to pick one idea and to connect with what Uday is saying, we have been seeing some interest in 8K 120 hertz, and so meaning high frame rate combined with 8K, and then this has some challenges. Just starting how to capture that. If, let's say, the camera manufacturer or someone make the live production and we get, there is this signal available, we are working on the ST2110 IP capture in 8K 120 hertz, then how to encode it and distribute it. So, and there are displays that it turn out that they can do 8K 120 hertz. And for example, in live sports, this is probably going to be the new benchmark. Like,
a number of elements are important to deliver a premium experience, and we talked about some of those. We are showcasing immersive audio at our booth with Disney, and how we are bringing that to streaming, and obviously would be great asset to the whole 8K experience. You're welcome to come and take a demo. We launched an IMAX app for Apple Vision Pro recently, because we want to bring premium experiences everywhere, and we are 8K ready to bring 8K content on that streaming platform that we have built. And there, we believe that you're able to differentiate from experience perspective end to end, and because we have full control over that end to end, from content perspective, from encoding perspective, from delivery, and from display perspective, we can demonstrate premium experiences there. So you're welcome to experience that on our booths as well.
I think for me, what's important is a more, better, faster pixel and the immersive audio. And at Tokyo, we got like 32 channels of audio, 22.2, 5.1, and the stereo. That's what like split digital encoder was able to encode and decode. So based on what audience wants. And I think even going for, Mauricio, correct me if I'm wrong, MPEG H audio, that kind of profile needs to be, because without audio, video will not do justice to what creator's intent is. So that is a single most important aspect of anything, I would say. And then just from the delivery side, AI plays a significant role here. And this particular implementation, and feel free to take a look at 8K Association booth, content-aware encoding, perceptual-aware encoding, we are leveraging Intel Advanced Matrix Extension instruction set that allows you to get the serial quality based on the scene complexity. And you just have to see to believe it, not just listen to any talk. Just feel free to check out, then you'll understand why the water looks real water when it comes to 8K. And Mauricio, me and we were watching Tokyo Olympics. Just emotional connect and the empathy is a very important, connecting to audience. So there was a Colombian judoka match was going on, and she dropped her contact lens on the tatami floor. And when that contact lens fell off, not only we saw the camera capture that contact lens, but we could see the fingerprint marking on that contact lens. And that level of serial quality, you see it, that's how I want to watch the content, or this is the future of. And that's, I think, like, what 8K does. And our job is to maintaining that broadcast grade quality, preserve the artistic intent, and democratize this thing so everybody can enjoy and absorb this as a mainstream experience.
Thank you for that. And as we're getting close to the end, I guess I'll have one last question for each of you. In regards, what do you think the creative industry and the production community needs to do to help evangelize the 8K at-home viewing experience?
You want me to start?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. So thanks again, Juan and 8K Association. You're really bringing the all player together. That this is not like one company does it all. It's basically require ecosystem, your competitor, as well as like your collaborator, and come together and solve this problem. And that's how this platform or format can take place. And of course, like in a lot of content getting captured in 8K, even the film-based scanning, but we are making sure that we are creating those pipeline, creating those, like, build those roads so that in a sooner or later, you can start enjoying this from the comfort of your home.
Thank you. And Abdul, any comments from you?
I think for 8K content to come to home, for premium content, theatrical, that's presented on the theatrical side in other places in the home, you need the mastering process to be done in 8K. I think that's an extremely critical aspect. And I don't think we should entirely leave it to the DPs and cinematographers on that. They need tools. They need help to be able to do that in an efficient way that is economically feasible, and the industry has to come together to help them do that. So I think that is one of the key elements that needs to be worked on before that can happen.
Your comments, Mauricio?
Well, coming from a video codec company, then I would say the video codecs are one of the key elements. As soon as you get 8K files, being around, very small, very easy to play, and quality is great. So when you say, okay, then why not? Because it's easy to download, easy to play in any computer or device. So then they will become popular on their own. So then I think the codec plays a key role there.
Uday?
I didn't want to put you on the spot, but I was going to say that a lot of it depends on the codec. So I feel like the capture is there. The artists know how to use the tool. How do we get it to the customer?
I want to thank you all for participating on our panel. Unfortunately, we've run out of time here. So thank you to our panelists, and thank you all for attending. For more information on this, we have the 8K Association booth number 4002, where we've got some great demonstration material. You can see the content, you can see the codec at work, you can see the 8K display. So please feel free to come by and have a look. And thank you again to our panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you.